Hello Virgo, this is Michelle and I'm here to do a February 2020 tarot reading for you. I am using the standard Rider-Waite tarot deck. Oh, there's the card that represents Virgo. Nice to see on the bottom of the deck. And I'm also bringing in St. Julia. This is from December when we pulled cards from the Voices of Saints by Los Scarabeo. And so we talked about maybe reading up a little bit about the saints, and I'm going to talk a little bit about her after your tarot reading. All right, this is a reading for our Virgo friends, February 2020. Virgo, the sign of Virgo. What are the messages we need to hear for our Virgo friends in February 2020? For the highest and best good, messages for Virgo, please. Messages for Virgo. All right, and on the bottom of the deck, we have Temperance. All right, this is not surprising, actually, because we can't really go into February even without acknowledging the very difficult astrological energy of January, which had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction exact. It's still in effect. But for all people, in different ways, though, that conjunction represents something difficult, and temperance here represents not only something difficult, but getting through that difficulty. It is getting through those difficulties in life that actually temper us and make us stronger. And so that's what I'm picking up from the Temperance card there on the bottom of the deck. Let's continue. Messages for the sign of Virgo. We have the Devil coming in, suggesting that physical, material matters are of a concern at this time. It could be financial, for example. It could be having to do simply with things, like the things of life, our possessions, for example. It could have to do for some with a career or job, which relates to bringing in money. All right, I'm really going, I'm sort of throwing a wide net out here, because for so many people, getting back to that Saturn-Pluto conjunction, it can hit us in many different ways, but at the same time, in some way, bring our attention to physical material matters. It can be somewhat weighty. All right, let me say that. Like, there can be a feeling of being weighted down by that at times. And now we have the Death card crossing, and so signifying a major transition in life that some of us are going through. And I want to say, as I have said for many of the signs actually this month, I'm already picking up this message for those Virgos that have been through a very tough time with the start of the year, and that it has made things difficult. I want to say, take your time with it. There is time to get through this entire process. It is going to be okay. We have the Emperor coming in. All right, already I can see the picture of Virgo really wanting to just make a list, right? Make a list, check things off, get things done, take care of business. But at this time, considering everything that is going on in life, it may be difficult. We might actually be asking a little bit too much of ourselves. And so if we can't just check things off in the way that we normally would and just get things done, keep a logical frame of mind, if that's not happening, I am picking up the message to just, take care of yourself at this time. There are other astrological indications that it is a very important time to take care of the self. I'll bring that up if it comes up again in the cards. And here we have the Three of Pentacles coming up in the foundation. This relates very clearly to St. Julia, which I'm going to bring up later. I'm actually really happy to see this come up, Virgo, because it tells me that despite everything that's going on, you have found a way to be of service to other people, to help other people. At the same time, this desire to help others and think about others could be a little bit of a burden at this time. I think that some of you have been really, really focused on taking care of other people. It's been demanded of you. And so again, well, here it is, okay? The astrological connection is that we will have Venus going into Aries. Venus in Aries suggests that it's a time to think about the self and to love the self. That's going to be very important in the month of February. And now we have the Page of Wands coming in. And so this is telling me that many Virgos had made a new start. Perhaps it was just before the beginning of 2020. You were very focused. You had your mindset on this goal, on this new growth. But then, January came along and there were these challenges that had to be dealt with. And now we have the Two of Pentacles coming up. I want to say this, what I am picking up, Virgo, is that, you've just got a lot on your plate. You're juggling a lot at this time. And I think this is rather immediate when we are looking at sort of past and future. I'm just sort of looking at this as like almost February and March. There's going to be a lot going on for you. And again, that just re-emphasizes the idea to take time out to take care of the self. And now we have the Nine of Pentacles coming up, showing you as being quite independent. It could be for some of you, despite these material difficulties, for some of you, this entire process is going to put you in a position where you are more financially independent and stable. I certainly hope that that is the case. And here we have the Eight of Wands coming in, again, emphasizing the Two of Pentacles. This is really interesting when this happens in a reading for us, because the Two of Pentacles doesn't really represent necessarily, at least in the Rider-Waite deck, what my reading was, but that was the message coming through. The message coming through was, a lot to handle, juggling a lot of things. And here we have the Eight of Rods coming in, confirming that idea. So in February, it could be that things are really picking up for you. Things suddenly seem a lot busier. You have a lot of tasks to take care of. Let's go back to that idea that you have a list of things and you want to check things off. It might not be easy. Again, take that break. Take care of the self. Take time out. Take time with the emotions. Take time to get away from these burdens, because you deserve it. It is about self-love in the month of February. You deserve it. You need it, Virgo. And the Two of Cups is also underscoring that idea that February can be and should be a month for healing. Will it take 1 month to get through this? It's going to be different for everybody. It's going to depend on the individual scenario. For some, it may take longer, but the tarot is suggesting that this is a time to heal from past wounds, from wounds that have occurred perhaps in relationships, and just through the difficult times that many of us are going through. We have the Queen of Swords coming in. I love seeing this for you, Virgo. Typically, of course, this is an air card, but you are Mercury ruled, and there is that strong connection to air through Gemini also being ruled by Mercury. Virgo is a sign known for being analytical and logical. This tells me that Virgo, you are going to get back to your old self, but give yourself time. That's what I'm seeing. For those of you, I want to say also that really did have a difficult time of it in January, I want to tell you that my thoughts are with you, my prayers are with you, and I am thinking about you now. I know and I can see this in the cards that it will get better. Now this leads me into St. Julia, which I want to talk about just for a bit. I did not know who she was at the time that I pulled the card, but I did some reading up about her. It was a fascinating story, and it answered the questions about this, what I saw that appeared to be almost like a stigmata on her hands. Well, here is the story. Julia was born in Africa. This is in like 4th century. This is really an ancient saint. As a young girl, she was captured and she was made a slave. Now, her master, of course, was pagan, but she was devoted to Christ and his teachings. The master knew this, but kept her anyway because she was such a good servant, so loyal, so faithful, and so full of virtue. Now that in and of itself is really remarkable because her entire story, her life story, revolves around this concept of being a slave, a servant. And Virgo, of course, is the sign in the zodiac that represents service, being of service. And so this is really remarkable to see that she has come through as a saint for us. As the story goes, one time she was with her master when he was at a pagan festival, but of course Julia refused to participate in this in any way because there were many gods. This made the magistrate or the governor of this town so angry that he wanted to purchase her from the master and to do with her as he would. But the master would not give her up. He was so attached to her, and she was such a good servant for him that nothing could induce him to part with her. So what the magistrate did, this governor or magistrate, was he took Julia away while the master slept, and he tried to force her to make sacrifices to this pagan god or the pagan gods. She was unswerving. She refused, and for this she was tortured and crucified. This is such a sad story. Of course, it is so common with the stories about the martyrs. I had really not even thought about that when I pulled these cards, and I've been reading these stories about the saints. In particular, she was struck in the face, she was tortured by her hair, she was flogged, and then she was crucified. It's astonishing, really, to think about what these saints and what Saint Julia went through in order to be faithful to Jesus. And so what I want to say, Virgo, for us is I think that this is really a remarkable example of having faith, of knowing that in the end everything will be all right, that Christ is always with us. I want to recommend for those of you who have had perhaps a trying time recently to pray to St. Julia in the month of February, or even to keep her as a personal saint, as she represents service, and so does our sign. And so that is your reading for the month of February 2020, Virgo. I want to thank you so much for coming back for another reading. If this is your first time at the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.